This is a family-friendly program, so I'm actually trying to figure out exactly how I can present this. I'll tell you what, if you've got kids listening to the show right now, some people do that, just mute it for the next 8 seconds. Kanye West has admitted to an incestuous homosexual relationship with his male cousin when they were children, up through their teenage years. All right, you can unmute it now. Well, maybe you can. I don't know. Kanye, I don't mean to laugh at it. It's a very, very sad story. Kanye has a song out called Cousins. And he says, the song is called Cousins, about my cousin that's locked in jail for life for killing a pregnant lady a few years after I told him we wouldn't look at dirty magazines together anymore. So it just goes right over the whole thing about his cousin killing a pregnant woman. Goes to jail for that. He says, I told him we wouldn't look at dirty magazines together. Perhaps in my self-centered mess, I felt it was my fault that I showed him those dirty magazines when he was 6. And then we acted out what we saw. It says, my dad had Playboy magazines, but the magazines I found in the top of my mom's closet were different. What exactly does he mean by that? Does he mean they were more perverse? I don't know exactly what he means by that. He says, my name is Ye, and then he goes on to describe in graphic detail what he and his cousin did, which I'm not going to do that because no one needs to hear about that. Really awful, really terrible stuff. You do kind of feel bad for Kanye, and you definitely feel bad for the cousin. You definitely feel bad for the lady that the cousin murdered and the kid that the cousin murdered. And you just really feel bad for everyone involved in this culture. That was magazines. That's my biggest takeaway from this. That was magazines that Kanye West is talking about. Finding pornographic magazines impelled Kanye West to commit really traumatic acts that have obviously traumatized him, probably his cousin, would really traumatize anybody, and have seriously messed up his life. Kanye West, some years ago, tweeted out, said, he ruined my marriage. It took my marriage from me. He paraded his most recent wife around in a perfect way. He said he wanted to start a company. It's just totally poisoned his brain. It's poisoned the minds of many people who are exposed to at a young age. That was magazines. The pornography that kids are exposed to today at age, 8, I think is the median age of exposure to pornography, internet, is high-speed video, immersive. Now, now we've got 3D goggles and sex robots coming down the pike. It is so much more stimulating than you find a magazine in a closet or something. And the magazines were bad enough to ruin Kanye West's life. So I'm not sitting here like the church lady. I think anybody with 2 brain cells to rub together knows that it is bad and you shouldn't look at it and you shouldn't expose others to it. But if magazines were bad enough to lead Kanye West to do what he did and to screw up his life the way it has, how could anyone oppose age verification laws for sites? Go to hillsdale.edu/Knowles. History, economics, classical literature, constitutional interpretation. Did your education cover these foundations? Probably not if you've been educated in the last 40 years. So, while our world constantly evolves through time and technology, certain fundamental truths about humanity and our place in the universe remain unchanged. That is why I'm excited that Hillsdale College is offering more than 40 free online courses in the most important and enduring subjects. Learn about the works of C.S. Lewis, the stories in the book of Genesis, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution, the rise and fall of the Roman Republic, and the history of the ancient church with Hillsdale College's free online courses. I personally recommend Hillsdale's course Theology 101, the Western Theological Tradition. This course examines the great questions of Western theology from the ancient Hebrews through today. Learn about the nature of God as revealed in the Bible, explore the great theological questions and controversies of the early church, study this history and the history of the Reformation, of the Counter-Reformation, of so much more. Hillsdale makes it so simple to increase knowledge and curiosity. The course is self-paced so that you can start whenever and wherever. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/Knowles, K-N-W-L-E-S. It's free. It's easy to get started. Hillsdale.edu/Knowles, hillsdale.edu/Knowles. They're the Democrats now, and the libs, and the perverts, and the degenerates, and the porn industry. And I'm being a little repetitive, I guess, here. They fight tooth and nail to stop laws that simply require age verification, so that kids, like Kanye West was when he first discovered porn, don't find much more dangerous, much more stimulating kinds of porn on the internet, or at least it kind of tries to stop them. Companies will stop doing business in whole states rather than comply with age verification laws that are intended to make sure that kids don't look at you. But you listen to this. This is seriously depraved, dangerous stuff. And as far as I'm concerned, if you oppose these age verification laws, you are as degenerate a pervert. You are as dark a force in politics as I have ever seen. A slightly related issue. Do we need to confess these kinds of things to everyone? Have you noticed this is a modern impulse to confess your sins to everyone, or your traumas, or all that? There's really more traumas because people never want to really own up to sin. Kanye West is doing it a little bit here, but have you noticed that people just confess everything online, on Twitter or on TikTok especially? The girls crying, confessing all sorts of stuff and traumas. And once again, a vindication. I think we're living through this time where all the old ways that we'd kind of tried to suppress and forget about, where they're coming back again. People make fun of the notion that a Catholic goes into a confessional, kneels down in front of a priest. There's a screen, and anonymously confesses his sins. And then the priest says, because he has this power given to him by Christ in the Gospels to say, ego te absolvo, I absolve you of your sins. In our modern culture, we mock this. But the confessional is just channeling a very human need to get a load off our chest. And I think conferring the real spiritual graces of absolution from God, who can forgive your sins. But even if you don't believe that, it's speaking to a deep human psychological need to, come on, get it off your chest, man. Get stuff. We do that anyway. We still have to do that. It's just now, either you confess your sins to your therapist, and it's really you're trying to evade responsibility. So the way you confess your sins to a priest is you actually have to say all the terrible stuff you've done in basically the worst way possible. And for you try to absolve yourself in the therapist's office, or on TikTok now. You confess it to the whole world. You don't need to. I don't feel bad for Kanye. He doesn't need to confess this stuff to the whole world. He needs to confess it to a priest. He tries to move on. And then we need political solutions to the temptation that people are being led into. That was a great clip. Now, hold up. Stop. You're wondering, why am I even in this studio? This isn't your regular studio, Michael. Why are you here? Well, you get the answer to that question and many more when you subscribe to my YouTube channel, and then you get all the videos. See you next time.